Hello friends, in this video we're going to look at this black box. It's rather mysterious. Cord coming out, little black plastic box. It says Malibu and the company appears to be Intermatic. I bought this the other day at a thrift sale for half of $5, meaning $2.50. See if I can even get the lid off of it. Actually, I had some idea what it was before I bought it, which is it appears to be a water sprinkler system, I guess, or part of one. It says low voltage transformer, and it's got what appears to be a 24-hour timer on it. So maybe this would run some sort of a sprinkler system based on the settings of these little red pieces here around the dial. I haven't figured out how to change those yet, but oh, I guess you just pull it out and pop it in. See how educational this channel is? So the voltage rating on here, 120N, 60 Hertz, 1 amp. That sounds fine. And output 12 volts, 60 watt max. So we do a little math and come up with 5 amps. So what I'm expecting to see here is basically a 12 volt transformer and a little, what amounts to a wall timer inside this kind of waterproof box, which is intended to be hung on an outdoor wall and plugged into an outdoor outlet. So let's take it apart and see what's inside. It appears that there are these 3 holes here, and I assume they'd be Phillips screws in there, but nothing catches. So I've looked down in there with a flashlight, and basically it seems to be some sort of molded plastic. So this thing is somehow completely sealed, probably for weather reasons, through some sort of plastic welding technique probably, or maybe glue, but I think a melted plastic technique. Looks like this is going to be something to destroy, as I've done in some of my other videos, using what I always call tools of persuasion. So I'm going to dig into that and then kind of show you as we go along what we get. So one thing to look for is that this type of paper label will often cover a screw hole that isn't obvious, and you should be able to feel an indentation for that, but I don't feel anything that way. We can pry from the side here, and it opens up just a little bit. See if we can show you that. See that little gap? So that might be something to stick a wrong screwdriver. Might be something to stick one of the most elementary of all tools of persuasion into, the flat blade screwdriver. We'll try that. I'm guessing that won't get us very far. Whoops. Especially while trying to hold the camera. Okay. I'll work on that on my own and get back to you. To make things easier to start with, I'm going to try to pop off this cover. Okay, that was fairly easy. Then we're going to pry from this front part here using the so-called Wonder Bar. I think this has some clips in it that would kind of break the front loose. But the problem with these things with clips is if you knew this right strategic place to push on them, you might be able to get them apart without destroying it. But you never know where they actually are, and destruction is part of the fun here anyway. So I don't know if that's apparent, but I'm getting like a 1/4 inch open here. I'm gonna go this way and just kind of pry this side right up. Now, if you enjoy this type of destruction and or watching someone like me struggle not to hurt themselves in the process, I can recommend my trackball video. Which has some analogous destruction in it. Okay, I think we're going to get the tin snips and start snipping the plastic tin. Let's see how this works. Not as easy as I thought. Now, obviously, I run the risk of destroying whatever's inside here, but live with that for now. Some big old rusty pliers to pry on. This plastic that they've used is pretty resilient, which under other circumstances we might admire. I'm hoping to open up enough to get some insight into whatever the easy way is to open up the rest of it. There probably is an easy way, although something like this potentially is not designed to be taken apart. That's a story I can tell you while you're watching me struggle with this. I went to Philmont a few years ago with my son, and they gave us tuna fish in our food supplies there. And tuna fish is one of those things that some people like and some people don't. And in particular, all they gave us was one of these little tiny hand can openers. You kind of cut around the edge of the... It's kind of hard to describe if you haven't seen one or used one. You sort of cut around the edge of the can, one little puncture at a time until you get the whole thing. And I seem to be the only one in the group who knew how to do it. So I attempted to teach the others. It's the kind of thing in the context of Philmont. One of the ideas is that the kids are supposed to do as much as possible because it's supposed to be their experience primarily. Well, I don't know if the kids didn't get it or if they were just playing Tom Sawyer on me, but I ended up opening all the tuna fish cans. Here we are at an intermediate stage. You can see the transformer and the clockwork mechanism for the timer switch. I've been struggling with this using these snippers, which work, but it's a slow process. And then I remembered that I was neglecting the ultimate tool of persuasion, which is bolt cutters, or Pac-Man. So I do have enough exposed here that I can kind of see where the areas to avoid are. Now that isn't the big bonanza I was hoping for so far, but you just keep trying and real good. I found 2 screws under this paper that I didn't notice the first time just by feeling it. I found those by kind of working my way backwards from this this line that starts at the back where I tried to put a screwdriver in. I guess it makes sense that they would put the screw head in this kind of sheltered area, and also under the sticker and the front cover. So that's logical, but I just didn't think of it that way at first. So we'll take the screws out and see where we go from there. Made more progress with the prying method, but it's a lot of work and there's a lot more to go if I don't have any luck with the screws. Got those 2 screws out. Let's see how much this cover budges. Might have interlocks somewhere else. So that's coming along pretty nicely. Seems to be something hung up here towards the top area. Oh, I see there's a can't show you, but there's a kind of a plastic hook probably on each side here. So it was probably a kind of a pinch it together for assembly and then put in the screws to finalize it. So I'll keep prying that at that and we'll see what we come up with. So continuing along the line of what I'd done before, I realized that this screw hole on the back traces all the way through, and there must be a screw head on the other side, which was actually hidden under this clock face thing. So I'd like to preserve the timer part of it, maybe, but that's optional. The honest truth is that I don't have any real need for it, and I might even be better off without it. I can pull out some of these gears. Now I'm going to guess this will just slip out very easily, which it did. We've got our power cord still held captive by this locking piece here. I haven't done a lot of these before, but from what I've seen they can just be kind of pulled out from the opposite side. Well, maybe not. So this has a little tab on it. I don't think you can see that very well on the video, but I'm just going to pull that off. So something broke there. We might have to get out our tools of persuasion again. Got most of what I want here. This is interesting. On the back it says A, B, and C. And C is actually connected to nothing. And A and B are connected to this transformer output and through the switch. So I'll just pull that loose. I think I'm gonna, rather than snip this cable and everything, I'll save that for now, but I'll just kind of destroy this back piece. Broke off this little holder, but it turns out that that won't allow me to free the power cord without more destruction. Looks like they poked it through the back, and this is kind of a crimp in style right here, which I could reuse, but it's crimped in and then glued. So, you know, I'll stick with preserving that for now, but we can snip away some of this plastic and free up the cord. By the way, I'd like to give a shout out to all you dead people out there for leaving me cool stuff to take apart after you're gone. By the way, I hope you find my misery on these things entertaining. If you do, please thank me by liking and subscribing. Of course, that may ease my misery, which would defeat the purpose. But okay, there we go. Yay! Plastic. I think it's reasonable to salvage these terminals, so that whole thing will probably go in the trash can. We've got what I really wanted here, which was this transformer, and we've got this nifty timer that we might be able to take apart, although I can kind of ruin it for you without even taking it apart. All this is a synchronous AC induction motor with a gearing system that basically makes it uses the 60 cycle AC on the power line as a kind of the frequency clock standard. Oh, it looks like this will pop out of here. Let's see if I'm that lucky. There we go. We got this switch. This is kind of an overall on-off switch that actually gets kicked by these little fingers that stuck out of the clock mechanism. So that's the actual switch. This is just basically a clock mechanism that's a lot of gearing down to get us from 60 hertz coming in from the line up to 24 hours, going all the way around the dial. Just like any other clock, you've got a lot of gear reduction. And see how this comes out. It looks like it has its own little screw right here. And the people who design these things use as few screw types as possible, if they have any sense, so we can expect this to be the same screw head and even the same length as our other ones. So that makes it easy. I may or may not care about this switch, but we'll save the little paper tag for now for reference, but ultimately that's going to go in the trash along with basically the entirety of the plastic housing. And here is our final result in one piece. Now as the next stage, I'm going to do some testing of this whole thing. I never did plug it in as a unit when it was together, so that's something to try now. At this point I've got the entire thing taken out of the box. You can see the transformer, the clock mechanism, the switch, the little plastic gears and timer setting pieces. These are the contacts that were on the back of the unit. I was able to pull those out of the plastic case. So we'll just look at these one at a time. This switch is set so it goes on and off with each rotation. I think it's like 1/4 turn per switching cycle. And that's got some mechanical settings here that kind of go to be tripped by these little insertions that you put in here. We've got the clock motor, and we've got the transformer. We've also got the clock motor and the little pieces of gearing and plastic and time that go with that. So at this point, this revolves very slowly, as in 1 revolution per 24 hours. Lots of gearing in between. And the way this is wired is they use a kind of a direct pin to pin kind of a crimp method, where of the 2 wires that go into the clock mechanism, one is connected to the white through this connecting pin which has 2 crimp slots in it. The other one is connected to the black through a similar arrangement. And on the output we have the switch in series, with these being the 2 outputs that are either going to be the 12 volts AC on or off, depending on the switch setting. So to test this out, I've got it hooked up through my home-built isolation transformer that I made in one of my early videos. Got a power strip and a little watt meter that includes the effect of the isolation transformer. We're going to have a little bit of loss through that, or actually extra power consumed. So we'll turn that on first, and we can turn this on. We should hear the little motor begin to do something. Now I've got 110 volts on these 2 pins here, so I'm going to be kind of careful about how I pick this up. We can certainly feel the vibration. You can see we've got a gear going fast towards the back and a set of gear ratios that each seem to be in some sort of line, that each rotate the one next in line. We'd have 12 volts AC here if the switch happens to be turned on. I don't know which state it's in. Let's hook up a voltmeter and find out. I'm going to turn everything back on now with this voltmeter connected, showing about 0.73, which might be some sort of ambient leakage voltage, so I'm guessing the switch is off. Turn that one turn, we get 11.35 about for our AC volts. Turn it off again over here, back down to that 0.73 of leakage or voltage error or whatever. So this is a success. Now to use this, all we have to do is take the motor off. I may continue to use the switch, so I'm ultimately going to put this into some sort of box, probably using a different switch with kind of a conventional 2 setting on and off type arrangement. For safety reasons, it could even be a light switch on this side. There's no real reason it has to be on this side, except that that's the way they decided to do it. I think it was easier in relation to the clock mechanism. And on this side you have more amps and less volts. But, you know, the worst thing, that's possibly a bigger wire here. I haven't checked the gauge on these. It may be the same gauge on both sides anyway. As an aside, I had a couple of these laying around that are also by the same company, which is Intermatic, I think it's called. These appear to be slightly different vintage, but they're pretty similar as far as features go. It has the same type of insertion mechanism you use to set the timing. We've got an inline power switch here. This obviously isn't designed for outdoor operation because this one and its friend are not kind of waterproof. They're sort of nominally sealed, but you wouldn't really use them outdoors. They also have this manual on-off switch, which you'll notice this rotates in the same sort of way that this one does. And it's the same mechanism as the plastic timer piece goes by. It flips the switch to the other setting. So this one you can take out. They show this as black and red, but the fact is, depending on kind of how you initially set it, you can be, let's say, on during this period and off here, or the other way around. So this has been a success as far as we're going to take it in this video. Everything works. I had to do a lot of surgery on the plastic case and ended up ultimately throwing every bit of that away. But I got what I wanted out of it, which is primarily this 12-volt AC transformer, and as a secondary item to put in the junk box or on the shelf, this nice little clock motor. So that concludes our video. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.